When I'm feeling a little down or exhausted or in need of joy, I go on YouTube and watch Black people winning awards.
Oh my gosh. In honor of Black History Month, we're here today to celebrate the power of art as a form of protest in queer history, and specifically Black queer history. So I'm so excited to be here with Logo and the incredible Robert Jones Jr. Robert Jones Jr. is the author of the amazing novel, The Prophets, which at its heart is a love story about two queer teenagers who are enslaved. Robert, I'm so thrilled to be in conversation with you today.
Whembley, I am so pleased to be here and thank you for that lovely introduction. And I'd like to return the favor by introducing the audience to you. Whembley Sewell is the editor-in-chief of Them, a Condé Nast publication by and for the LGBTQ community.
I think when we talk about Black history, it often is the case that queer history isn't seen as an integral part of that. And so from your perspective, I would love to know why you think that's the case.
That is the million-dollar question, Whembley. Part of the reason why I wrote The Prophets is for that exact reason. There's this idea that there were no Black queer people during the period I'm talking about, antebellum slavery. And that's just balderdash. It's
wrong.
It's unfactual. And I think it has to do personally with a learned anti-LGBTQ sentiment that our ancestors, our communities learned through European colonization, through Christian missionary work. Because I remember listening to Esther Arma, who is a brilliant artist, activist from Ghana, talking about her tribal community and how if you had asked her great-grandparents what a homosexual was, they would say they didn't know. But if you explain to them what homosexuality
meant,
exactly
they go, what it is.
Oh, you mean love.
So often, I think our history does become whitewashed and does become, even I see the photo of you, of Toni Morrison behind you, and I think so often of a quote about the gaze of white men and how even that gaze of white men can totally abstract our own understanding of our history. And I would like to know, who are the writers that are foundational to you?
Who immediately comes to mind is James Baldwin. He is the first Black queer male writer from New York City figure that I encountered as a college student. He has been utterly foundational in the way that I think about politics and approach the subjects of race and gender identity and sexuality. And another figure who has been really, really crucial for me is someone who at one point took Baldwin to task for his sort of patriarchal approach to some things, and that's Audre Lorde. If she was not the most brilliant person on earth, I don't know who was. Her way of looking at intersections was just so brilliant and so mind-blowing, and really helped me to understand that I too existed at intersections that granted me privileges and also made me vulnerable and marginalized.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
It gives me chills to be able to hold space to talk about, both of them in the same breath like this. I remember the first time I held Zombie in my hands, Audre Lorde's new spelling of my name, and my whole world, it felt like it just cracked open. And I don't think I would be who I am, without, having such an intimate relationship with her writing.
We're talking about, these books and such, and I was wondering, as someone who's on the editorial side of it, have you faced any challenges as a Black queer woman?
I'm an only in a lot of rooms, and I think I turn that challenge inward and say, how do I make it so that I'm not the only? How do I make it, so that I'm not the youngest, that I'm not the only queer person, that I'm not the only Black person? I think if you have any ounce of true agency and the power to make things happen, it's your job to do that for others.
And I'm so grateful to people like you who do that sort of
Oh
work.
gosh,
So thank you.
Thank you. Robert, I want to almost ask you the same question, even though, of course, we do very different things. At what point did you feel empowered to tell this story in the Prophets, and that you had the resources to tell this story?
I initially was deeply insecure about the prospect of telling this story because I knew I would face opposition from many directions. I was the only Black person in my workshop, and the white students didn't really understand why I should tell this story and thought that I was too focused on race, as though the stories they were telling weren't also about race, because they just simply didn't see whiteness as a race. They saw it as the default state of humanity.
Exactly.
But thankfully, I persisted because I felt as though it was a narrative that was erased.
Yes.
Because, often when you read about Blackness and queerness in this time period, it's always in the context of sexual assault or rape culture. And my question was, well, what about love? And that is the question that prompted and gave me the courage to write The Prophets.
And I'm so glad, I'm so glad that you dared to ask that question.
Would you say that in light of the Black Lives Matter movement, in light of Black Trans Lives Matter, that your work has evolved in any way to sort of make that central?
Absolutely. I think one of the beautiful things about them is that has always been the case. So quite frankly, I think if you're not including these voices and telling these stories and allowing Black trans folks themselves to tell it on their terms, then you're completely behind and missing where our world is going. So stay tuned for what is to come, I say to that.
When do you know it's time for self-care, and do you have any particular practices? Because I think for Black people, we're sort of programmed to think that our value comes from the amount of work we do.
Absolutely.
So we're consistently laboring and thinking that if we're not laboring, then we're not valuable.
I have to say, hearing you say that just is so affirming. When I have a moment to slow down, rest, reflect, it really is going back to the page, the written word that does feel like salvation, that does feel like, a salve, that is soothing. I
do this really weird thing for self-care. When I'm feeling a little down or exhausted or in need of joy, I go on YouTube and watch Black people winning awards.
Oh my gosh.
I just love it. I know, awards should not be the measure of anyone's creativity or their gifts, but it's just something really joyous about seeing somebody else experience something so wonderful for them.
Yeah, a pinnacle. I need to start doing the awards too, I'll call it. But for me, it's also, I love Twitter threads of Black people laughing. I will just sit on the couch and just the different, are you a body laugher? Are you the hiss laugher? Are you the silent? It's just, I could do that for hours.
I'm gonna adopt that one because that's a good one. Whembley, this has been one of the best conversations I have had in a really long time. It is truly a pleasure to speak to someone so thoughtful. I want to thank you so much for even talking to me.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? I've been blushing this entire time. You're just so brilliant. So it's been an honor to hold space with you.
And thank you to Logo for providing this platform for us to speak. Really appreciative.
Absolutely, I could not agree more.